Hello and welcome back to Beckler Guitars and Repair, and today we're checking out a pretty rare Gibson. This is a 1995 Gibson SG Special, limited edition in translucent blue. Let's take a look. Alright, so yeah, this guitar came in the original 90s case. I love these cases. They're super high quality. The handle's super robust, like great handle on them. And yeah, they're just really high quality cases. And yeah, they have the pink interior. And they come with this like silk shroud. And this one's still intact. Usually these get ripped off or taken off. And yeah, there it is. This is like the most blinged out SG I've ever seen. Alright, so yeah, there's a bit of a cool story with this one. So I picked this one up from a pawn shop. And I was in that pawn shop probably about 3 months ago looking at guitars. And this one kind of caught my eye, but it was pretty outrageously priced. I'm not sure who was pricing them, but they were a little out to lunch. So I talked to the manager and discussed pricing with them and showed them some past reverb listings and stuff like that. And they agreed that the pricing was too high. And I gave them an offer, but they didn't really entertain my offer. They kind of said, no, we can't go that low, that kind of a thing. And then I saw it, they had put the guitar on Facebook for their original price, which again was probably not garnering much interest at that price. So I sent them a message and be like, hey, you know, if you would ever take, I was in there looking at it, and if you'd ever take that price I offered you, just let me know. And yeah, they got back to me and said they would take it, so I went and double checked everything this morning, made sure it was all good, and then pulled the trigger and brought it home. I find a lot of pawn shops are advertising their inventory on Facebook Marketplace and Kijiji and stuff like that, and they usually have inflated prices. I think that's just so there's some wiggle room in terms of like haggling, but what a lot of people don't know is that, yeah, they will haggle. Pawn shops, you can haggle at a pawn shop. So I think a lot of people see these listings for, you know, the inflated prices and just brush them off without even giving them much thought. But yeah, if it's a pawn shop, you can haggle with them, and in this case they went down a considerable amount. So yeah, just keep that in mind if you see any listings for pawn shops, or even if you're in a pawn shop, you could leave your number saying, if you ever would take this price, give me a call, and they just might. Alright, so let's get into the specs of these things. So this is a 1995 limited edition SG Special, and the finish is called translucent blue. So because it's such a dark finish against the mahogany, it definitely looks like kind of a purpley, kind of a dark blue / purple finish. It works really well with the gold hardware. And usually I'm not a big fan of pearloid pickguards, but this one, yeah, it fits. So yeah, we've got 2 tones, 2 volumes, that's normal, with a gold hardware switch. We even got gold on the output jack, gold tailpiece, gold ABR1 bridge, and they even put gold slugs screws in the pickups. So these pickups are the 490R 490T pickup set. I really love this pickup set. They have the Alnico 2 magnets, and yeah, they're just really vintage, like PAF sounding pickups. This pickup set is actually what all the Slash pickups are based off of. They're great. I don't much like the 498 pickup set as much, because that back pickup's a little too hot, but these ones are nice and balanced and very vintage sounding. And it's got a really nice dark ebony fingerboard. Again, some of these SG specials came with the ebony, which is a really nice upgrade. Usually this is kind of reserved for higher end custom shop stuff. And this has got the pearloid dot inlays. This guitar is in crazy nice condition. There's no fretwear at all. Like someone barely used this thing, which is crazy considering it's pretty old, 1995. So coming up on 30 years. And yeah, there are nuts right there. That's the synthetic nut. I think it's Tectoid or whatever they were using at the time. And I checked the truss rod on this and it's pretty much untouched. Still got the factory paint on there. And the gold hardware on the machines with the Gibson silk screen. And on the back, yeah, not a lot of marks. Not your usual like buckle worming or anything. So yeah, I suspect this thing was not played very much. Maybe in someone's collection. And I'm not quite sure what the neck is. It seems like a little bit too big for a 60s, but a little bit too small for a 50. So we'll take some measurements and figure that out. There's our limited edition logo. And made in USA. So in 1995, they switched the serial number back to the 15 year thing. In 1994, this would have been like 94, but in 1995, they switched it back to that way. So this was made in 1995, 118th day of the year, batch 360. And yeah, these guitars are really rare. I had a hard time finding another example, which is maybe why it didn't sell. Another reason, because people thought this was like modded or not original or something like that. But yeah, I found a few other examples and had a hard time finding out what the actual name for the color was. I had to find an NSG wiki and find the year. So this is a translucent blue. And against the grain. So yeah, you can actually see the grain of the wood if you get really close and you can look through the finish. And I guess it depends on how dark the piece of mahogany was. This piece must have been pretty dark because it really looks sort of purpley, really dark blue purpley against the grain. So yeah, pretty cool. Let's go ahead and get it on the bench and get some specs. Alright, it has a nice weight, 7 pounds, 3.1 ounces, or 3.26 kilograms. Alright, so there's a little bit of conflicting information about these pickups. Some places I saw they were 490, 490. The other place I saw it said 490, 498. So we can confirm that by measuring the pickup. Usually I like to go to the Wayback Machine and check the website, the Gibson website of that year, so you can see the specs right from the website. But this was before Gibson had a website, so yeah, let's check. So in the bridge position, it's reading a 7.86. So this reading right here confirms that these are 490 pickups. And the bridge position on a 498 would be closer to like 13, 14. They're quite a bit hotter. And then in the bridge, or the neck position rather, a 7.776. And the middle, 3.90. Alright, let's have a look at the pickups. So any SG that has this batwing type guard, the bridge is actually mounted over top of the pick guard, so you have to remove it in order to take a look. So let's take this opportunity to have a look at the bridge. This is an ABR1 bridge, and it's gold. And these are kind of gold plated, so if you handle them enough, you can see underneath that there's the silver showing. But yeah, this has been barely handled. It doesn't take much to get through that finish, and it's only showing on the one part there, so that's cool. And then the ABR1 bridges are that very skinny screw mounted directly into the body. There's no ferrule like embedded in the wood. And our tailpiece says made in Germany, which is era correct for 1995. And it feels like it's full weight. I believe these are made by Schaller. Gold as well. I also like to take a mental note of where these thumb wheels are at before I remove them, just so it doesn't mess with your setup when you put it all back together. Alright, so here's a better look at our pick guard. It appears to be 1 ply, and it's kind of that really thick mother of toilet seat perloid material. And here's a look at our pickups. So yeah, everything looks as it should. These are the braided wire Gibson USA stamped pickups, open coil. And let's have a look at our cavities here. So yeah, this little kind of reddish stuff here, that's the buffing compound that they used. Some areas it's white, some areas it's this reddish color. In the 95 area, these are reddish. But our pickup routes look nice and clean. And there's no markings inside the cavity. Sometimes they have some factory markings, but that's not the case on this example. And there's a look at our long neck tenon here, right there. So yeah, everything looks as it should. Let's check out the back cavity. Alright, here's a look at our pickup cavity, and yeah, everything looks original. Our we've got the ceramic brown disc capacitors and that longer style 3-way switch. Switchcraft output jack, and it looks like they're using CTS pots of this year. And if you look at the pots, they're dated to 1995. Just a little bit more of that buffing compound kind of built up in there. But yeah, that's looking good. Alright, let's get some neck specs here. So at the first, or at the nut rather, we're looking at a 1.67 or a 42.61 millimeters. And at the 12th fret, that's a 52 millimeters or a 2.0 inches. And the neck depth at the first fret is a 0.82 or a 20.9 millimeters. And at the 12th fret, that is a 24.8 millimeters or a 0.97 inches. Just comparing the neck size to my 50s rounded C SG Special, and they're pretty close. They're both the same at the 12th fret in terms of thickness. This one's just a tiny bit thicker at the first fret. But yeah, I guess this is more of a 50s rounded rather than a 60s. Each neck's a little bit different because they're kind of hand done by Gibson. Sometimes they take a little bit off more material or they leave a little on. So yeah, this is definitely, I guess, a 50s neck profile. Here's a look at our neck profile. So yeah, just a nice rounded C. It flattens out a little bit by the 12th, but not much. And yeah, it definitely feels chunkier than a 60s, but maybe a little less than most of the 50s I've felt, so some kind of in between, although I'm sure it's marketed as a 50s. It feels good though. Alright, let's take a quick look at condition. Like I said, this guitar is really, really well kept. It's got like some very, very slight handling marks here and there, but overall, no major scratches or dings, and it looks like it was barely played. Let's look at our truss rod. Interesting that the buffing compound is white in this on the headstock and it's red on the body. But maybe they're in different buffing stations. Maybe, I'm not sure how it works. But anyway, our headstock is nice and clean. No scratches. Our nut is cut very well. It looks good. And then yeah, there's no fret wear at all on this guitar. And the fingerboard is a really nice dark ebony, super glassy. And our frets feel great. There's no sprout at all. Moving on to the body. If you catch it in the light, you can see a few slight surface scuffs just from handling, but I'm sure most of that would buff out if you had to, or if you wanted to. You can only really see it when the light hits though. But yeah, very minor stuff. And all the parts are original. And yeah, our gold hardware still has the gold. Sometimes they get tarnished to the point where they're not really gold anymore. And yeah, that's such a cool touch that they put the gold hardware in the pickups too. Have a look at the back. Back's very clean. Usually you see some like buckle worming or something on the back. There I am. But there's none on this guitar. And again, if you get really close in the light, you can actually see the grain of the guitar, which is cool. This is a very rare color. And yeah, again, if you get in the light, you can catch some tiny little scuffs and maybe a few dimples, but very minor stuff, and you can only really see it in the light. And even our strap buttons are gold. And there's a look at our neck. There's no marks or impressions on the neck at all, which is nice. Some people don't like if there's any marks or dimples on here because they can feel it while they're playing. But that's not the case. There's our limited edition silk screen and our Gibson Deluxe tuners, gold, and then our shield number again. So yeah, overall very, very clean condition. I would call this, you know, very good to excellent condition. Alright man, I just got a really nice setup on this guitar. So using my notch straight edge, you can see that there's very little space between the notch straight edge and the fingerboard, so that says the neck is nice and straight and the truss rod is set nice and tight. And then here in the 3rd fret area, you can see when I use the 3rd fret that the string is resting very nicely against that 1st fret. So we've got really nice action over here. It tells us that the truss rod is set nice and tight, the neck is straight, and the nut is very well cut. And then here in the 12th fret, we can check the action using a depth gauge here. And on the 12th fret, you can see that it's sitting just under 1.5 millimeters on the low E, and at the high E, it's just under 1 millimeter. So yeah, very nice low action. Alright, let's just run up and down the neck, make sure there's no fretting out or buzzing anywhere. I like to speed up this part, but if you want to hear it in real time, just slow down the player to 25%. So yeah, no buzzing or fretting out anywhere. Super nice low action. And yeah, our frets are nice and smooth. There's no sprout at all. And the neck feels good. It feels definitely bigger than a 60s, maybe a little smaller than a 50s, but very comfortable. Especially for me, I like a larger neck, so that's great. I wanted to check to see if this thing has any neck dive, and no, it doesn't. It actually doesn't. It stays right where it's supposed to. So this is kind of approaching the Goldilocks era of SGs for me. It's got a thicker neck, it's got a nice weight, and there's no neck dive. So yeah, that's great. Alright, let's go ahead and plug it in and hear how it sounds. Alright, I'm plugged into my 1965 Fender Bassman, and I'm miking up the 212 cab with an SM57, and I've got a room mic condenser getting the room. Let's just run through each pickup position clean and then with a little bit of dirt. So yeah, I love this pickup set. It sounds really, really nice, clean, really articulate. You can really hear everything. And yeah, I like them. Let's go ahead and try it with a little bit of distortion. All right, final thoughts on the rare limited edition 1995 SG Special in transparent blue. It's awesome. I really love SG Specials, and this has got everything I like in an SG Special. It's got a nice thick neck. Again, it's not quite 50s, I don't think. It's probably spec'd out as a 50s, but it feels a little bit thinner than a 50s, but definitely thicker than a 60s. It's got that really nice, dark, glassy ebony fingerboard, which some specials have. I love that feature. This one is just blinged out. I really love the color. It gives it that really dark blue, kind of deep purple kind of look, and matched with all the gold hardware. It looks really, really good. And I usually don't like pearloid pickguards, but this one just matches really well. They even got the gold hardware on the pickups, which is such a cool touch, and the gold hardware on the output jack. And it plays great, super low action. It bends effortlessly, and just, yeah, really comfortable to play, really easy to play. Pickups sound great. Some 490 sets sound better than others. This is a really great set. They just sound really, really good. I usually like most 490s, but this one has a little something special. Sounds great, clean, or with a little bit of overdrive. And again, perfect weight, just over 7 pounds, no neck dive, stays in tune great. Just a really, really nice guitar. And I'd be keeping it, except for I do already have like an SG Special that I really, really love. And I love the color, but I just can't see myself, you know, playing it on stage. I'm sure somebody could, but I don't think I could pull it off. I think it looks cool though. I definitely appreciate it. So yeah, the next time you're in a pawn shop and you see something but it's priced too high, don't forget you can haggle. You can leave your number. They can call you back once they're ready to pay your price. On Facebook or Marketplace or Craig's or Kijiji or equivalent, lots of pawn shops advertise on there, and the same rules apply. So yeah, you can find a great deal. That's going to be it for today. Thank you for tuning into Beckler Guitars and Repair, and I'll have more for you really soon. Thanks a lot.